Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. It's always a little bit weird when I'm actually presenting because I can't see everyone's gorgeous face. So forgive me if I miss something or, please put it in the chat. My right-hand lady, Jennifer Willis, will be monitoring the chat box as we go through this. I hope everyone is doing well this holiday season. So here we are again. As you all know, it's time for our annual joint meeting. And of course, our presentation today is going to focus on the annual child count for children who are deafblind. And we're going to kind of go through that, answer any questions, review. But please speak up if there's something that's a little confusing as we go through it. I'm going to begin by just kind of going through our agenda today. And I'm going to be up first, and then we're going to have the delightful Paige Bradford from the Maryland State Department of Education. Then we will have Frederick Starmark from Context Global, which is going to be fabulous. And then another fabulous person, Sherry Dowling, the Executive Director of American Society of Deaf Children, will be here. And then at the end, I'd like to just kind of review with you just some of our Connections Beyond Sight and Sound stuff. Maybe we could all chat, share some resources. We could give you an update of our grant, pretty basic, before we kind of exit out and then move into whatever other afternoon meetings you all have with the committee members. So before we proceed, for those of you who are new, because I know we have a few new people in the state in these new positions that might be joining us today. So the first thing I would love for everyone to do is to put their name and their role in the chat box. And then we can go just kind of like glance at that, see who's here, what your role is, see who's new. And it also helps me kind of maintain some contact with you if we discuss anything about the annual child count, the census forms, just throughout the year, if we share resources or support each other. So it would just be great to know who's here and what your role is, and especially in your county, if you could put that too. So if you're in the Department of Vision and you're in Baltimore County, just put that in the chat box just so we can know who you are. That would be excellent. And then let me tell you who we are for those of you who are new. And I know for some of you, we've known each other for 20 plus years. So just bear with me because I know there's just some new people and they're probably saying to themselves, what the heck is Connections Beyond Sight and Sound? And what do we do? And why are we here? And all those fun questions. So Connections Beyond Sight and Sound is the Maryland and DC Deafblind Project, which means we are charged from the federal government to serve children who have vision and hearing challenges at the same time, but anything else is a bonus. So if there's a student who may be struggling and you think, oh, interesting, it turns out that they have some issues with vision, they do have some issues with hearing, and now that we know that, but we're still not making progress, we can help with those teacher classroom strategies, working with paraeducators, working with the team, just kind of giving them some tools. We want to build capacity. We are here to help problem solve. We want teams, we want students, we want families to feel successful. So we are here to provide those resources and strategies for you. We are also funded by the Maryland State Department of Education. They are a strong partner with us, and we are housed at the University of Maryland in College Park. Even though we're never there, we are typically out in the field a lot. We do in-person, we're doing virtual. We are also providing lots of technical assistance. I think we had a record number in year 5 of our grant, which was last year. It ended October 1. I think we had about 375 TA visits. So we are quite busy, but if you need help, we would love to be able to partner with you. So just feel free to reach out to us anytime. We provide things like we can go in and provide that intensive technical assistance, which really means we go in, we observe, we talk about a specific observation, how we can make sure the child has access, make sure the student has a communication partner, maybe also having a trusted relationship. So we talk about all those strategies and we do whatever's needed. We can help make materials. We could do a professional development on a specific topic. We also provide statewide training. We are famous for our annual Summer Institute that's held every summer. It's been in August and it's been virtual since COVID. And we have big topics around, we try to kind of make it a general topic, sometimes more specific to deaf blindness, sometimes not, just depends on what's the heated topic for that time and place. So we try to provide that as well. We have a website, and we're going to talk about the website today a little bit as well. It has been kind of redone and redesigned, so I'm hoping to use that as a tool for all of you. You could get a lot of our information and resources right from our website, including the annual child count. There's literally a page set up and we can talk about that also. We also have a Facebook page that you can keep up with the resources that we share around the state just by going to the Maryland and DC Deafblind Project page and just hit like, and then you'll also have access to us. We also have kind of a bi-weekly, weekly email newsletter, depending on what's available. And we share resources, we share registrations, things that are happening around the state. So we like to share that with everybody. And if you're interested in anything, of course, just register. Okay, so I'm Donna Riccobono, Project Director. We have with me today Jennifer Willis, who's the project coordinator, and she's doing the behind the scenes work for me, which I appreciate her. We have Dr. Jenny Stepanek is here. She's our family engagement person on the project. She does a lot of our virtual gatherings with families. She's doing some in-person stuff in her neighborhood in Montgomery County. We've been advertising some of that stuff as well. Dr. Rebecca Hammer is not with us today. She's managing a low vision clinic, so we're excited about that. She's not here today, but she is on our team, and she's been doing some great work around orientation and mobility assessments and also functional vision assessments. So she's kind of our person that helps us with that as well. Okay, so that's kind of a little bit of snapshot of what we do. So let's go ahead and get after it. I can't see if anybody has any questions, so I'm hoping Jen Willis will go ahead and stop me if there's a question. Okay, so typically around this time of year, all of a sudden, a lot of people are getting an email from us. And that is because we're sending out the email information around the annual child count. And it's been kind of set up that we meet in December, I would say for the last probably almost 10 years. We used to get a lot of snow in January. So we moved it to December. And of course, we used to also meet in person, which Jen Willis and I were reminiscing about, providing chocolates and hot coffee, and we would gather and network and socialize, and it was a good day. We would have both meetings. But things have changed after COVID. There's it's a lack of meeting space, and it's also much easier for everybody to attend virtually because there's no drive. A lot of us are chiming in from the western part of the state, from the southern part of the state, from the eastern part of the state, and I would hate to narrow that down because it's hard to travel. So virtual seems to be working for us, but of course, feedback is always welcome. So today, I just want to say, if you have not received an email from me, let me know. But everyone should have gotten an email for your local school system. Most of the time, there's more than one person on it. So hopefully one person got it and it didn't go to their like spam box, or and the information is in your inbox. You have the deadline is until March 13th. So we give you plenty of time and we can correspond about any questions or concerns. In the letter, it talks about where to get the information. There's some attachments, but not as many. We've put a lot more information on our website now. So this way we had a couple of attachments that were more personalized to your local school system, but the majority of information is now on our website. So when you receive the letter, it'll be more specific to you and your county. And of course, we want to thank everyone for their efforts as they go through this every year, and just go through the list of kids that we send you. It's right from our database, and just make sure we're on the same page. Our database is aging, but I think we're working pretty good with it right now. There is another website that we may try that hosts a database, and it just takes time to kind of migrate the information over and figure out how to manage it. But my goal is still that we could have you log in, and then you would be able to upload your student information on your own without having to scan it and send it in and email it to me, and then we check and talk about it and yada yada. So right now, the way it is that we attached it. So you have your student list. And if you go through that, the easiest thing to do is to go through it. If everything is correct, you just send me an email that everything looks good. Everything is status quo. If you want to email me to say we have 3 students that have changed schools, you could just send that in an email. If we have students that have graduated, you could literally just email me and say we have 2 students that have graduated, and just let me know, and I will edit the database. So this way next year it will be hopefully correct. All the information will be correct. So we're just trying to always update and correct the information. We also want to make sure that we are identifying the students. So that's why we have this discussion today. We want to make sure that everyone is aware on how to identify a student that has vision and hearing challenges in their classroom, and what that means and what we can do for you. So I would say if you go through that list, it says also in the letter that you can print out the forms that I sent. You could write directly on the forms if there's a lot of corrections. You can scan those forms back in and scan those forms back to me. But honestly, you don't have to, unless there's so much information that needs to be corrected that to put it in an email, you want to show me, and that's fine too. So I accept it either way. If the documents are too large to scan in and email back to me, then feel free to mail it to my home. I've provided you with my home address. So, excuse me, like I said, the information is in the letter, but I'm happy to discuss, email, call me. I believe I put my number in the email as well. So give me a call and we can talk about it anytime. Sorry about the sinus issues. I'm sure everybody's having it this time of year. I also should say, for those of you who don't know me that well, I have 2 dogs, and we are good right now. But if FedEx or Amazon decides to come by, I may have to mute. So I'm going to hopefully get through this without having to mute, because they're very loud. So it's one of the not so great things about being at home, but we'll work on it. We'll get through it. So right now all the curtains are closed, and hopefully they won't care if FedEx comes by. Okay, I'm assuming there's no questions so far, that we're kind of doing okay. So what is the annual child count? What is this census that we are charged with doing? So I should let you know that the federal government, who supports the deafblind grant, we are charged, it's one of the criterias of the grant, that we are required as the Deafblind Project to do an annual child count. So what that means is the federal government wants to know how many students in your state have students that have vision and hearing challenges. So they're kind of looking for that number. Every state has a Deafblind Project. Each state submits their data to the National Center on Deafblindness. The National Center on Deafblindness then sends it over to the Office of Special Education Programs. All the information is confidential. We have, of course, the names of your students, but it doesn't really leave our database. Everything else after that is a code. It's just a number. And then we're just looking for those national trends. We're looking for how many students have something called Usher syndrome. how many students across the country have something called charge syndrome? And they're looking to gauge, well, the services needed, the resources. In the beginning, even I used to think that, well, maybe if we had more students, they would increase our funding. Well, not true. The feds have not increased our funding since the grant began in 1986. However, they finally gave us an increase last December of 9%, and we'll get into that and I'll explain why and what that means and what that entails. So, on a good day, I would say, oh, well, if we have more kids, we get more funding. Not the case with the federal government. They really don't care. They just want the information to see how the State Deafblind Project is serving, what we're doing, how many students that we're providing technical assistance are asking about questions around communication, how many students are working on transition. So they just like to know that information and how we are supporting the local school system and building capacity. So we report to that every year on an annual progress report. Okay. Okay, so why is it so important? Well, I think most of us as educators know why identifying students at a young age is important. We want to get in there, early childhood if possible, and start working on communication, making sure the student has access, figuring out the best mode that they're going to be a communicator. What does that look like? How are we going to support the student with accessing the general ed curriculum? And also figuring out who is the student, what do they like, what's motivating to them, and then we can figure out a program on how to educate them best. So we work with children who are ages birth to 21. Sometimes it goes a little bit over to 22, depending on what happens as the transition plan is implemented, if it's adult services, if it's college. So we really try to support that student and their family throughout the journey as much as possible. And we partner with everyone. We partner with the local school systems and either DOORS or Developmental Disabilities Administration. So DOORS is our vocational rehab department. So we work with everyone wherever the student is in their natural community, in their environment, and making sure they have what they need to be as successful as possible. So we want to get in there as early as possible. We want to identify students. We want to be able to provide support and give you the information you need, again, to have the student will make progress, everyone will be successful, including the student, and we can answer questions, provide more resources, whatever is needed. For those of you who don't know, I should back up and say, and I don't know if I'm going to address it later, but we have something called a referral form, and then we have something called the census form, or we've renamed it the new child count form. So those are two different forms and they're on our website. Of course, the new annual census child count that we have is for this particular purpose, which means reporting a student that has vision and hearing challenges. And you only use that form if it is a brand new student to you and a brand new student to us. If you have a student that you already work with or a student that is already on the census, you don't need to use that form. So this is for a new student. Maybe a new student has transferred into your county and they seem to have vision and hearing challenges. You have some documentation and you want to complete the form and just add them to our census list. That's great. We'll take it. If you would like some more intensive services from us, if you'd like us to come in, provide professional development around a student or a student team, then there's a referral form. It's only 2 pages. Fill out what you can. We could even pick it up when we come there. But it would be great to have signatures so the school, the principal knows that we're coming, and also the family of the student. So we're just trying to get everybody on the same page with the referral form. That's kind of the purpose. And then there's a place for questions. So if you want us to focus on if the student has a functional vision loss, what is that? And then also if you want us to talk about communication. So it gives us an idea of what we're working on with that student and that team. So those are 2 different forms and they are on our website. Okay, so I think again, this is important. We want to identify the students out there. We found that, we're still walking into a classroom to see a student and then he has a classmate that has also vision and hearing challenges. So if a school system just wants information about how to identify a student, or if they would like us to come out and observe a classroom and see if there's a student in there that may have a vision and hearing challenges. We are open to doing all of that and flexible and can design something around your local school system, depending on what is needed around the student, the team, the family. Because again, we want everyone to feel successful and that we want you to have the tools and strategies to be able to provide a successful program. Okay. I think that what we're noticing is that the centralized programs, we're still seeing some kiddos in there. So we need to just kind of get in there and say, okay, maybe the student has multiple disabilities and they may not receive hearing and vision itinerant services. However, they still are not accessing vision and hearing typically. So, you know, and we'll get into a little bit more of that. That's just like a little bit of a sample here. And which leads me into what is the definition of deafblind? So on our website, if you go to our website, Jen Willis, maybe you could put our website in the chat box when you get a minute, and it's cbss.umd.edu or marylanddb.org. Either one will get you there. And after she puts it in there, if you wanted to check out the website, I don't mind. You click on the category that says annual child count, and you will see on the annual child count page of the website, there's the federal definition and there's a functional definition of deafblindness. So all the information is basically there for you to read at your leisure whenever you feel like you have questions and are pondering what it is and how to really identify kids. So that information is there for you, but we're also happy to talk it out as well. There's also a button there for instructions. That's also like completing the census form. There is a button there for definitions, which helps kind of really dissect what is on the annual child count form and explain it. There's everything from ethnicity to all the etiologies that's on the child count form. So when you complete a census form, you'll notice that page 1 probably has 100 different etiologies on there. And I think it's something to consider. Those etiologies should also help guide you. If you have a student that has CHARGE syndrome, but the student's vision is actually pretty decent and they do use their vision very well, I want you to know that because they have CHARGE syndrome, they should automatically be, you should also be completing automatically a form for each of those students. Because CHARGE syndrome impacts 40 different systems, and there's trainings and resources and information about CHARGE syndrome. And it could be very subtle to very obvious, the vision challenge that student may have. So because it impacts for sure vision and hearing, we at least want to be able to monitor and know that that student is at risk. So to add them to the census form would be wise, and we would appreciate it, even though, you know, they are using their vision. So, and again, we're talking about students who have vision and hearing challenges, but it doesn't mean fully deaf, fully blind. It really means the vision and hearing is impacting how they access their education program, how they access their world. So we're really looking for those kids to be identified. And most of you on the call already know that children may have issues where they have usable hearing, usable vision. However, they are still not having full access. So please complete the census form and send it in to us so we can kind of work together to figure out if you need anything, or if you're good, that's fine. But we at least have more of a clear number of how many students in Maryland have vision and hearing challenges. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, so what if, you know, we've talked about this too at length, where if a vision and hearing challenge is brain-based. So what does that look like? Things like either cortical visual impairment, or we call it brain-based vision impairment, or the audiogram says that they are hearing, but it's not consistent. We have things called the IFE, which is the Informal Functional Hearing Evaluation. So if the student has this audiogram and they've been sedated, and maybe the audiogram says, well, it's probably a mild loss, and maybe they're not using hearing aids, maybe they are, but if the student is needing an alternative augmentative mode of communication, then there's some obstacle there, and we're happy to help with alternative ways, augmentative ways to develop a communication system for each student. I think that's one of our main, if you look at our mission, we really want students to have access to a communication system. We believe that if a student doesn't have access to a communication system, then it's really challenging or almost impossible for a student to learn new concepts. So we really want to get after it, where the challenge is to make sure every student that has vision and hearing challenges, and not only vision and hearing challenges, but every student has access to a communication system and a communication partner. Because we want to be able to educate them. We want them to make progress. We want them to be able to learn new concepts. It all impacts their quality of life and their perspective of the world. So we respect that. And I think to just recognize that if they do have a brain-based either vision impairment or hearing impairment, that they are still added to the census, and to just take that into consideration.
Hey, Donna.
Yes.
I'm not sure if we want to take a pause for a moment. We just had someone enter called closed caption, and I'm not sure if that person is supposed to be here to do captions. But if they are, you would need to then assign, I don't have the power to assign them to type that.
Okay.
Hi, this is the closed captioner. I'm actually scheduled for 10:15. I'm not sure, but I have an external link. I think whoever's using the captions is using the external link. I'm not sure how it was set up though. That's the way I did it yesterday, and that's the way it was. So I don't know if I need to caption over Zoom, but I can do that if you'd like me to.
Nope. I think if everybody's good.
So I should give him access, and I should do that by, because I have my PowerPoint up. You're not able to do it, Jen?
I am not able to do it as a co-host, but you might not need to. If he's doing something on if he's doing a separate thing, then we might not need to do anything for.
Yep, I can put the link in the chat for the external link, but it's usually an external link that I'm doing when I caption for you guys.
Okay, so I'll just continue then. I don't need to do anything.
You are good. But just let me say, Lisa, I just re-spotlighted you. I take off your spotlight when Landon comes on so that we don't just see a blank screen, so that the interpreter is larger. So just FYI, when you switch back, you'll need to re-spotlight yourself to come in. Thank you. All right, Donna, you're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, so we get this question sometimes, less in the last few years, but I think to know that when a student is in a classroom and you think, well, they have vision and hearing challenges, but they're not receiving vision services, maybe like direct vision services, or they're not even receiving consultation, or maybe they don't have anything about hearing on their IEP or orientation mobility. It doesn't obligate the school. We are not here to tell you what to do or how to go about programming for your student. We will offer suggestions and ideas. However, we work as a team, and this is really about the federal government asking us to identify students that have vision and hearing challenges. So by filling out the census form does not obligate the school to change anything that you're doing. As we get into it, if there are things that may need to change based on the information that we share together, then that's the prerogative of the IEP team. So just know that there's no obligation. We're not there to tell you what to do. It's really just about identifying kids, regardless of the service plan that they have, if that makes any sense. You know, part of that too is if we need to come out and do our professional development around introduction to deafblindness or identifying kids, we can do that if maybe there's a team that is having some concerns or issues, or again, if there's a student at risk. We also did a summer institute this past summer with Dr. Tanny Anthony, and it's posted on our archived webinar page on our website. And that is a really nice way to kind of listen to Tanny Anthony, who's been around for a while, and she does a lot with early intervention, and to really dig and do a deep dive into early identification, what to look for, how to do that especially around assessments or compiling information. If a team really wants to kind of get after it, Dr. Tanny Anthony, that webinar from the Summer Institute is posted on our website, and it's in 3 sessions, so you don't have to sit through 8 hours, but I think it's about maybe an hour and a half for 3 sessions, and it's really great information to really think about things around students who are vision and hearing challenged, and then how to go about figuring out, okay, do we add them, do we not add them? So that's a great webinar. So check that out if you have time. So what happens if we don't know all the information on the census form? Well, give us what you have. You know, we will, I think the basic things that we're really looking for is for that demographic information. So of course, their name, date of birth, maybe an address, you know, things that are going to help us keep track of the kid. Of course, your county, and but you know, complete as much as you can. I know many of us may not have the family information, even though we would love the family information. And you know, you can ask them at their IEP meeting if they would like us to reach out, or if they even want to receive our newsletter. And then we can, you know, start a relationship or not. With the families, it's really about whatever you send us. We respect whatever the family has told you. But you know, again, the form has information on it and it can be comprehensive, but yet it's information that I think if you're working with a student, you would kind of know the gist of it, and give us what you have. We're not looking for any medical reports. We don't need any medical reports or an audiogram or any kind of functional vision assessment. That's really for you all to have in your county if you feel like that's needed for this student. But for us, if you fill out the census form, just do your best with what you have, and we'll take it from there. We'll follow up, or we'll follow up the next year following and see if there's anything you need, or if there's anything that you know, you have questions about. Just let us know. So again, who should complete the census form? Well, I know you're all just, you know, wanting to do this work for us. So usually it's typically you, whoever's attending this meeting, it's usually the person attending this meeting that is going to fill out and complete this annual child count form. We have a liaison in just about every county, and it's usually somebody that is working in the role of a teacher of the visually impaired, maybe supervisor, or teacher of the deaf, hard of hearing, maybe supervisor, maybe not. Excuse me, somebody we've worked with before, kind of understands what we do, how we can support you, our resources. So it's typically that person. I think we're lucky in Maryland and in DC. We have contacts. We get together once a year. We have this meeting. There's many states across the country that don't have this relationship. So it is unique to Maryland, and we do appreciate all of you and appreciate this time that we get together once a year to just have a discussion and just say, hey, we're here to help you. This is something that's required. It really helps us get a more accurate count of what's happening in your county and across the state, and then also is combined with what's happening nationally. So it is a really helpful thing. So anything you can do, any information you can provide us is excellent. We really appreciate it. So how is the information used? I think I talked a little bit about this already. It's basically compiled into our database, which is also, you know, locked in University of Maryland, State Department criteria, all that safe cyber stuff that happens with that kind of stuff. We have it. And again, it's confidential. This information is then compiled and into an Excel spreadsheet. Again, it's a code. It's a code, so the name is not actually used, and the information is then sent over to the National Center on Deafblindness. And then the National Center will put together from across the country, compile all the data from all the state deafblind projects, which I think there's 52, and then send it over to the Office of Special Education Programs in the federal government. And they want to know that information about how many students and the national trends of what's happening around, you know, students, and then what we're finding, if there's an uptick in children that may have Cornelia de Lange syndrome, students that have Usher syndrome, So we kind of want to know, and then we find out that information, and it helps us kind of reshape what we're providing, technical assistance. We kind of get some information about what's happening around the country with diagnoses, with etiologies, and then figuring out how we can support that in our state as well. So it's good information. It helps everyone, but it's all confidential. So I just wanted to reassure people about that. Okay, if you still have questions about the annual child count and then completing the forms, anything that we can do to help you or support you around a student who may have vision and hearing challenges, please just reach out. Just email us. We tend to not bite others. We tend to work collaboratively. We love partnering. We enjoy sharing information and resources. We enjoy sharing, building capacity. We want to see everyone succeed. Again, the census is due to us March 13th. If you're finding yourself not ready to send it, just send me an email. We'll give you an extension. Why we particularly like it in March is if there's a lot of changes, it gives me time to kind of do all the corrections in our database before I have to send it to the National Center about a month or 6 weeks later. But if you need more time, we will give you more time. Just email me. We like to give people a deadline just to kind of get it on your radar, put on your calendar, and then we can work through whatever obstacles and questions that you may have. Okay, again, use our website. Here's our website. Check it out. I have written a lot of things out. There's links. There's a lot of information on the annual child count about the census forms. The forms are there as well. So use that. I linked it to everyone's email. So you got an email from us. Again, the information is in your email and then linked to our website. So please use that. And if any questions, or if you even want to give us feedback on our website, we would love it. I mean, I want to make sure that people can use it as a resource, that you can find everything you need. So feel free to also just provide information about the website. That would be great. I'm already going to put out there that let's put in December 11th for next year. I know it's a year out and we're not thinking about next year because we're just trying to get through the holidays and finish up the school year before we all go on break. But it might be helpful, especially for the chairs of the committee, to just kind of pencil this in. And then as the year progresses, we can talk about it and see if December 11th will still work for each of you. And then just let us know and give us feedback. So again, on our agenda today, if there's no questions, Paige Bradford is going to talk to us a little bit from the Maryland State Department of Education. Now, Paige, we didn't dialogue ahead of time. Do you want to share anything? Do you need to share your screen? Do you want me to I'll stop sharing mine and then we'll just spotlight you. I'm not sure if you need anything from me.
I could share my screen quickly for one thing, if that's okay with you.
Perfect. Yes. So I'm going to.
Also, closed captioning is supposed to be direct to Zoom. He has included they've included a link, but if you could try and assign him to caption.
Are you asking me to?
Yes.
Okay. So you're asking me to, I was stopping sharing. So you're asking me to,
If you click, you see where you have the closed caption. If you click those 3 dots next to the closed caption name, you can assign that person to caption.
And that would be making him a co-host, correct?
No, it just assigns them as the captioner.
Jen Willis, if I make you a host, will you be able to do that?
Sure. I think I could be able to do that.
I don't want to
guys
spend trying to find the button.
Are you guys okay if I get started and then we can?
I think so. Let me know if you
Okay.
can share your screen. I gave you permission, so let me know if it works or not.
Yes, it'll work. Thank you all so much for being here today. Like Donna mentioned, my name is Paige Bradford. I'm the section chief of specialized instruction here at MSDE. And I have a special dedication to this work. I was a teacher for students who were deafblind. So this is something that's close to my heart, and I'm glad to be here. I just wanted to share a few things with you this morning, and it's not going to be very long, but if you have additional questions or if things come up, you can always shoot me an email, and I'll put my email and contact information in the chat. So the first thing I just wanted to let you all know is that we have had some leadership changes here at MSDE. So we do have an interim state superintendent. Her name is Dr. Wright, and she is here until June 30th. When they will sort of elect a person to be the state superintendent for the next term. We also have a new assistant state superintendent who started about a month ago. His name is Dr. Antoine Hickman, and I'm sure that you guys will be hearing more information about him, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of all of those changes in leadership here. And then I wanted to share my screen because I wanted to share about some of our new documents that we have recently released. So we did release an intellectual disability eligibility checklist just exactly 2 weeks ago. And we also updated our Appendix A. So I wanted to share my screen with you just to highlight a couple of things that I think are relevant to this group. So the first thing, will be the team date, all that stuff will stay the same. But one of the things that I wanted to emphasize for this group, sorry for the scrolling, is we've added a section with questions about whether or not the student is a multilingual learner. So this is new. We've not had this in the past. And so what we're asking teams to do is to really think about that student's exposure to language, their dominant language, and culturally relevant assessment before they're making a decision about participation in the alternate framework. The other thing that we've added, which I think has a lot of power here, is a communicative competence section. And so this section is really focused on our students who may be non-speaking, may have very complex needs, and may not have a way to interact with their environment. And as part of our push for presuming competence and making sure that we use the least dangerous assumption, we're asking teams to hold off on identifying students for participation in the alternate framework if the students have not had opportunities, which include both instruction and access, to develop a system of communication. So that could be a communication device, that could be a number of different things. But we really want teams to be very thoughtful about some of those students who maybe have not had that exposure to communication and language, and so therefore they don't have access to it. So I'm not going to go through the whole Appendix A, but if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email. I'm happy to set up a time to talk through this more, and probably some of you will be getting some of this information from the special education department within your LEAs as this continues to roll out. And then the last thing that I wanted to share with you is still focused on that communication piece. We have a big communicative competence initiative here at MSDE. And so there are two really exciting things that I wanted to share. The first is that we are preparing for a webinar in the spring, and this is going to be really the launch of our communicative competence our communicative competence initiative. And our plan is to really highlight the importance of access to communication and language. So we have reached out to experts in the use of AAC devices who are AAC users themselves, so that we can kind of tie together that lived experience of using a communication device with some really robust research and expert information on how to support our students in developing communicative competence. So we do not yet have a date, but our first person that we have asked to present for us is Dr. Yu Sung Chung from George Mason University. So some of you may know her. And we will absolutely, once this is scheduled and finalized, we'll share all that information out with you. But I did just want to give you all a little heads up that that's coming down the pipeline. And then the other thing that I wanted to share was just a quick update about our AAC subcommittee. So some of you here are serving on the subcommittee, and we are so appreciative of your time. The subcommittee, it was part of our alternate assessment participation waiver for last year. And what we did was we looked at sort of where some of our gaps were overall, and we noticed that our students with complex communication needs were not necessarily moving the way that we thought they should be in terms of a development of communication. So we invited people from across the LEAs to submit an interest form so that we could form a group, and we could really work on this and figure out how we can help to disseminate this information and help teams to get what they need to support their students with really complex communication needs. So we have had 2 meetings so far. And our last meeting was about different types of assessments, and that was assessments for specific devices, but also just assessments to determine where our students with complex needs are in terms of communication skills. And then our next meeting, the wonderful Jennifer Willis is going to be sharing a little bit with us about the impact of sensory needs on communication. And so what we're hoping is that as we go through these different sort of hot topics, that we'll be able to come up with some sort of product, whether it's like not necessarily a guidance document, but some kind of guide or recommendations that's specifically focused on students with complex communication needs. So that's sort of it's a very focused lens, but it's definitely an area that we've seen is a gap across the state and that we want to help repair. And so just to share with you kind of our other hot topics list. So again, our first was assessment, then we had sensory loss, and then we've also got sort of prompting and teaching as one of our hot topics, presuming competence, communication versus compliance, and then implementation are the hot button topics that we've talked about. And this is sort of a long process, but once we come up with whatever our final product is, our plan is to share it out with the steering committee members so that you guys can provide feedback, so that you can, highlight anything that we may have missed or anything that we may not have considered. And that way we can make edits and changes. But we are really committed to this communicative competence initiative. And so I want you to feel really empowered to reach out if you notice a gap or if you notice something that is related to this that you think would be beneficial for us to consider or to be involved in. You can always feel free to reach out to me via email. And just know that we are really, really excited for this work, and we hope that you guys are too. And then that's all of my updates, unless anyone has specific questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paige Bradford.
Thank you. And I'll just put my email in the chat. Most of you guys probably already have it, but just in case you don't have it handy, and if you want to send an email about anything or have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out.
Excellent. Thank you. Good information. Okay, next on our agenda, Mr. Frederick, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hello, how are you?
Hi. Doing actually, you know what? Pardon me, I have a cold. So if I sneeze or cough here in the meeting, then you know why.
Okay.
My voice is a little bit challenged as well. So if anybody can't hear me or have any questions, do let me know. But
Well,
yes, I'm excited to be here.
And I think many of us are struggling through the sinuses and the
Yes.
change of seasons and all that stuff. So no worries. We are a flexible, welcoming group.
Thank you.
It's Frederick's first time with us, so this is a partnership. I have invited him to come and be a part of this. As most of you may know who have been around a while with me and Jen Willis and this project, one of the things we're charged with on this grant is discussing interveners. And we're discussing laws that are potential laws and how to go about training interveners. And so Frederick has become a wonderful partner, and I want him to talk about his agency. I don't want to take too much away from his presentation, but it's kind of like supported our efforts jointly in figuring out how to train professionals, who are they, and how to go about. And I think we agree on most things. So I'm going to let Frederick take it away.
Well, thank you.
1 second, guys. Just to, for our interpreter, I don't know, interpreter, can you see me? Okay, we tend to use the sign intervener. That'll save you from spelling it every time.
Good catch, Jen Willis.
Sure. Okay, thanks, Frederick.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me here today. I wanted to give a brief introduction as to who we are. We are a Context Global, a government contractor for profit. We were founded in 2005 as a language business. At the time, we only did spoken languages and some translations. In 2011, we were approached and asked if we were not interested in starting up interpretation services with American Sign Language, which we did in 2011. And that grew, and we met a very passionate group doing that, and we were really excited about it. And we started working with DCPS at the time to provide ASL services, and that relationship has been growing and growing and growing. And in 2017, thanks to, I'd say, want to give credit where credit is due, and that is to a lady named Anna Shirigin at DCPS, who had a vision to start working with interveners to provide intervener services for a deaf and hard of hearing student and deaf blind student at DCPS. And so Anna reached out to us, and after failing to find good candidates, and she wanted to brainstorm about it, and we started brainstorming, and we quickly realized that it was really a pay issue that needed to be better for somebody who comes in with preferably a bachelor's degree and maybe a certificate after that. And so we changed that around a little bit, and they gave us a contract to try to find interveners for them, which we did, and we started doing that. I believe it was in late 2018. It was successful, but we have had challenges along the way to do that. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. And in 2018, out of nowhere came somebody who wanted to make a movie out of with a deafblind person as a leading character in a short movie, and approached us, found us out of the blue. So we said, okay, we'll go in as a second funder. Helen Keller Institute of New York was the main funder. So we felt that, hey, this was really cool to be part of that. And we did that. And the movie was called Feeling Through. And we were very excited. It was actually nominated for an Oscar in 2021 with a first deafblind actor as a main lead character in it. You can Google it. It's called Feeling Through, and you will probably find it. It's a beautiful movie about a young homeless and minority person who meets a deaf and blind person at a bus stop, and they form a relationship with that. And it's a beautiful movie. It's available for free online. And then we continued providing these services to DCPS, and the relationship grew. We had a couple of more inquiries. We worked briefly with MSB. We currently have a contract with Prince George's County to provide interveners for them as well. We have one person working at Kennedy Krieger Institute, and we have 2 people working with Shepherd Pratt who asked for the similar services. So what is, something that many have struggled with is like, what is really an intervener? And it is a really challenging, one of the challenges that we have is to communicate as to what is expected of and how can a classroom and a student benefit from an intervener. And it's not an interpreter. And I would say that it is a discussion partner who is there for the student, who will also help to adapt the curriculum that is being taught in the classroom and facilitate that learning process, which is different from an interpreter, which is only interpreting, providing a method of communication to it. So that's really a challenge in a sense in the classroom environment, like to help the teacher to build a relationship with the intervener, to utilize them the right way, is a challenge. And it's also a challenge to discuss with leaders of the schools, various types of leaders, to teach them or show them how they can create successful outcomes with interveners. So that's something else that we've been working with a little bit. Another level is obviously recruitment. We're still having, post-COVID, the deficit of ASL interpreters has gone up, in a sense that there is very hard to find ASL interpreters. So any interveners with ASL skill, they tend to gravitate to becoming an ASL interpreter because pay is almost double. So that's a pretty big incentive. So we have a challenge with retaining interveners, and what we have done to do that is to provide full support together with Maryland Connections Beyond Sight and Sound and Jennifer and Donna to provide support for them to have free education toward an intervener certificate, and we go in and sponsor that a little bit. We also obviously provide full benefit package to them to make sure that they know that this is something that is valued and that it's long term. As with ASL interpreters, it is very important when working with interveners that the intervener is there all the time, and ideally it's the same intervener the whole time. And why would that matter, you may ask? And then I usually, when people ask that, I usually say that, well, remember when in high school you had math, right? If they kept switching teacher on you or kept switching substitute, you're going to have gaps in your math skill. And then they build something on top of that, and you built in something. And then maybe at the end of the day, you think that you are bad at math when actually you may be really good at math. Imagine doing so now with somebody who is deaf blind or even just deaf hard of hearing, switching interpret on them in addition to switching teachers. It's really, really challenging. So we try to create a long-term commitment here. And post-COVID, that has also presented challenges where we probably need to go back again and look at pay to the interveners to put them in parity probably with ASL interpreter to create these successful outcome. But that is something that we're working on. So what do we do then? Well, we go in and we work with the school systems, and generally we use a non-certified intervener in the beginning. We try to recruit persons who are passionate about it and who we can see want to stay and are committed. And then we work with them, enroll them in the program, and hopefully within a year they become a certified intervener. And then they would benefit the school or the school system long term by being this support person. So we our other challenges are also, like I said in the past, is that in the classroom to make sure that interveners are utilized the best way possible in the classroom by the teacher, and that they have a good relationship with the intervener. We have also been in discussion with some school systems about providing maybe somebody who is deaf or hard of hearing as an intervener. We have our biggest success in an intervener role is actually with a hard of hearing intervener who he doesn't actually need an interpreter, which is beneficial, obviously, but he is able to work with a student on a whole different level. We have concluded that because of the challenges that this person had probably as a younger person in terms of learning ASL as a first language, benefited the consumer a lot in terms of these services. So I want to create a plug here that or encourage usage of deaf or hard of hearing interveners. It's actually a resource that should be valued a little bit more than it is currently. All right. Then another item, if we flip the script a little bit, is for interveners and something that we would like to do with the school system in terms of we want to set it up for success. And if you think about it, it's also about the student's needs. What type of disability does the student have, and so on and so forth, and where are they in their educational process? Those are questions that are very important when selecting an intervener. And that is a challenge sometimes for us to work with the school system. For example, can a hard of hearing or deaf intervener be assigned? And then obviously the B question to that is, would there be an ASL interpreter available for this intervener or not? And typically that's where the discussion stops. And that is something that we would love to kind of resolve or work with somehow because it would benefit the consumer in the end. But selecting the right intervener for a student is very important in this process to create a successful outcome. Another item that we also see in working with this, we work with specialty schools like Kennedy Krieger and Shepherd Pratt, but we also work with school systems. And many times we see that school systems, the challenges, they feel that sometimes the challenge is insurmountable. And sometimes there are also parents who are, have been fighting for their student for a very long time, and they wanted to send them to a specialty school, or maybe they want something different than the school system. And we sometimes get caught up in the middle of that. And but we also want to say that we have seen several positive examples where school systems have been able to step up with an intervener to create a successful outcome for a deaf-blind student. We have also seen on specialty schools that are not always equipped, with the exception of MSB, who be able to handle these types of students, particularly if they are multiple disability situations and they get changed around from schools to school. And obviously that is a very sad story, because like changing the math teacher and changing the intervener and the interpreter, and then on top of that the school, is not necessarily the best thing for a successful outcome. But we are very passionate about this support. We are very excited about it, and we hope to continue. And it's a very rewarding work. So, and with that, is there any questions? I haven't talked very long. I've only talked for 15 minutes here, but I have 45, but I don't really have much more. So if there are any questions, do let me know. No?
So Frederick, I wanted to add too, how I think you and I agree on the training of interveners.
Yes.
Excuse me. How we train an intervener is we provide support, financial support, to send them to Central Michigan University.
Yes.
And because we know that program and we know it's vigorous training and we know where that person lands after they've completed that training, so we feel good about their experience going through that specific program. So this way,
Correct.
and we're also partnering with you to do the supervision piece, and with Central Michigan University. They're a partner with us as well. And we do the supervision and the coaching and send in the paperwork that's needed for this program.
You're
And
absolutely right. And I think that that relationship there that we have with you and coming into the schools are absolutely essentials, not only for the school system to get feedback and help in terms of utilizing their resources in a most efficient way, but also for us and the intervener to get the feedback that you come in with, and also the expertise, because you have been around for quite some time and also are able to see other situation or classroom situations and can draw expertise from that and provide great feedback for us. So we have enjoyed that relationship very much. We have found that in general terms, working with Jennifer and Donna is the key to success in working with them is transparency, and even sometimes when it's a little bit tougher and there is tougher feedback, and it happens to us, sometimes with the intervener, and we get some good feedback from Jennifer, and we have to sit down and scratch our head, how can we do this better? And the transparency component there, we have found has been profound in terms of being able to utilize the relationship fully. So thank you for that.
oh, it's the partnership has been a great, and it's been an honor to partner around this very
Thanks.
passionate topic for us. And I'm the one having trouble talking today. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's just the season. I think that we are passionate about it, but also the federal government, and I don't know if we've told this to you also, Frederick, but there's been a group that has lobbied to Congress, and last December was the end of our 5-year grant, and the federal government was actually proposing to cut our funding. And then what happened, this group did the whole lobbying, and then there was this thing called the omnibus, and then the Congress said, we're going to give more money specifically for giving it to the deafblind projects to train for more interveners. So we've gotten now, not only did we get the money back that they were trying to cut, but then we got a 9% increase. So this is significant because now we are reporting to the federal government how we are providing the training. And the federal government is asking us, specifically the Department of OSEP, which is Office of Special Education Programs, OSEP. They are asking us to provide a letter with information to many stakeholders around Maryland and DC, which says, do you know about interveners? Do you know what the role of interveners are? So we're going to be sending letters, and many of you on this call may get a letter, and you're going to be like, Donna, why are you sending me this? And it's because OSEP is requiring us to, and they want us to give a list of agencies that we've sent this letter to. So that might mean maybe the special ed directors in a specific county will get the letter. And in that letter, we will talk about the role of interveners, what that looks like, how we provide our training, how we assist in that training, and talk a lot about, the supervision, Central Michigan University, et cetera, et cetera. And I should also highlight that we believe in Central Michigan University just because we know the curriculum. There are other state deafblind projects that choose to not use Central Michigan University and provide their own training. Honestly, we are a small team. We are mighty, but we are small. And to provide this ongoing intervener training takes away from the supervision and the mentoring piece that we can do when we know kind of the foundation that's been laid in a person who's learning the skill. So we use Central Michigan University, and I think Frederick has experienced that as well, that when people go through that program, they're landing on the same platform, so we can have these ongoing discussions from a place where they have been seasoned and understand and are compassionate about the topic. So it's a good landing point for them. And then we can take it from there with the supervision and the coaching piece and mentoring. And
Well,
honestly, for us, we like to know who the person is because we can develop that long support ongoing system for that intervener as well.
No, I saw there was somebody asked here in the chat a little bit about the training, and I wanted to say something about that really quick. The training is 1 year, and typically it is very hands-on, and you are as an candidate intervener, if you will, you work with a student and you use that relationship as a quote-unquote case study in your education to become a certified intervener. So that's basically how that works.
And the information is posted on the website under, I believe the category is called qualified personnel. And there's information on the types of training and information about interveners, what the role is. You know, I think that it's good for people to go there and refresh their memory as well. There's an article that's been posted there through CEC, the Council of Exceptional Children, dedicated a fall journal to interveners. And that journal is, the link to that journal is posted on our website under highly qualified personnel. And so if you look on those resources, you'll get a little more background information about interveners, but we're always happy to discuss it. And I think, you know, there's different training options highlighted there, but if we are involved with Frederick and we are investing in a person, we are going to encourage the college coursework, and partly because of what we know about the program and how wonderful it is, but also when you are hired, we like to say, well, how does a human resource office know that you've had training? So having a college accredited program where you have college credit coursework is a transcript that can be shared with when you're hired and have it be given to a human resource department. So we value that because we're trying to avoid obstacles and saying, well, you know, you've done professional development and yada, yada. And we also believe that may not be good enough because of the variation of the diverse students, that we make sure that people have an understanding on the level of the student and being able to meet the student where they're at. So this training that's a year long, we just value it highly, and we're able to then mentor and shape and provide the support needed with Frederick's help as well. And then school systems are then guaranteed to find somebody who's an intervener who has qualifications. So that's the vision. It's not always happening at this point, but we're hoping that they are either in the program at Central Michigan University or finished. And we know that the local school system is getting a qualified person to be able to get in the classroom and get started. Work collaboratively as a team member, understand and meet the student where they're at, making sure the student has access, working with the teacher, understanding how to work collaboratively with the classroom teacher, that they are not the teacher, they are the intervener, and they are looking to the teacher for that collaborative work style, and understanding the curriculum that is there for the student and how to provide access for that student so the student can then take advantage of their educational environment. So these things are very important. You know, we do recognize that IDEA doesn't have interveners listed as a related service. We understand that. We understand that the state doesn't have interveners listed. So I go back to you and say, well, if you've decided that there's a student, because that's always the first important thing that you want to discuss is a student deafblind? Okay, and there's issues and there's tools around that. And we have things on our website too to help identify if a student has vision and hearing challenges at the same time. And then there's another tool checklist that says, does the student need an intervener? And you go through that with your team. Then you're able to reach out to Frederick and say, I think we might need an intervener for this particular student. So you have a place to go. And also, because IDEA doesn't provide an exhaustive list, doesn't mean it's not something you can't add in. It is definitely a service that has been shown to provide a solution, a strong solution to not only teachers, but for the student, because we know as educators, we've gone through a master's program. We're lucky that as a teacher that's in a college program getting a master's degree, there may be one lecture around deafblindness. And so as a teacher, we're coming out with a general knowledge, and we're going to need to provide access to a student that has vision and hearing challenges. Well, the intervener is your partner. That's the solution. So then you have an understanding as a teacher of deafblindness, but then to use that intervener and be able to work collaboratively through that intervener, that the intervener is going to provide this information as a trusted partner. And they're going to do things with the student and not for, because they've had the training to know the difference. Then that is the solution, to be able to say, this student has access to a communication system. The student has access to the general ed curriculum, and they have access to their peers, and they're taking advantage of their school environment. So that's the way to look at interveners, not that it's another thing, but that it is really a solution if you want your students to have the success and reach and have progress. It's another way for those strategies to be instilled in the classroom. And you know, we're happy to also have the teacher be part of the training if they want to learn collaboratively on working with a student that has vision and hearing challenges. So we are open to all different scenarios and different ways to work this in, because we do value and we believe it's so important, and we've seen it work many times. Jen posted the publication through the Council of Exceptional Children. It's in the chat box. If you want to take a look through, it's written by many providers in the field, deafblind projects. I was actually honored to be asked to write an article as well, and I did that with my colleague in New York. And we talk about the state deafblind projects and how what all the state deafblind projects are doing around interveners, because the federal government is asking us to basically help with this movement, if you will, and say, you know, we're here to support it, and let's think outside the box, and let's think together and collaboratively, because it's really about your students. It's and we want to help build that capacity for you all. So Frederick is another way that we think is great. And we've run it by the federal project officers, and they love it, because it's a private company that's able to contract out interveners, because we know that deafblindness is a low incidence disability. And right now it's hard. We're trying to recruit people that want to do it. And by Frederick having these people available, then contracting with the local school system kind of takes the obstacle around payment and salary and all of that and training out of, you know, so this way we can do that, and the local school system doesn't have to worry about it. Because you can't just hire somebody and then expect them to be at a level that's ready to start day one with that student. And I think going through Frederick is an answer, not everyone's answer, but I think it will answer for some of you in the local school systems to be able to contract with him and get the person that's needed. So, you know, feel free to reach out to Frederick. And maybe we could put Frederick's email in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me or Jen also about this process, but we think it's a great, not only a wonderful partnership, but I think it's a solution for where we are right now in this time with trying to build this up and train others and get everybody on the same page. Anybody have any questions? Okay, well, feel free to email us, reach out to us, reach out to Frederick.
Thank you, Donna, for providing me with the opportunity, and I appreciate it, and good luck to all of you. Together we'll make it stronger.
Yes, absolutely. We'll just keep plugging away, Frederick. So thank you so much for being here today and
Thank you.
presenting and introducing your services to everyone here. I think has an interest in the state of Maryland.
Thank
you. Okay, are we good to keep going, or do you have a question? Liz, do you have a question? Okay, all right.
Jen, do we think a 5-minute break would be a good idea, since we have a few extra minutes?
Sure. Let's take a 5-minute break. 10 minute, 5 minute. What do you think? 7 minutes? Let's come back at 11 o'clock. So it's 10:54. Let's come back at 11. All right. Okay. So I'd like to introduce another fabulous partner. Sherry Dowling is the executive director of American Society for Deaf Children. We do a lot of partnering and training and collaborative trainings with them. You should see some of their stuff advertised, even in our newsletter. We think it's a successful relationship that's been able to share wide and broad, and people have been taking advantage of everything from their beginning sign language classes to their family literacy conferences. And I'm gonna not talk for Sherry. I'm just gonna let her do it. And thank you, Sherry, for all the wonderful things, and thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. Okay. So my name is Sherry Dowling. I'm the Executive Director of the American Society for Deaf Children. I am a parent of a young man who is 29 and is deaf with some intellectual disabilities. And I've been doing this work for about 25 years now. I've been with ASDC for 17 years. So I have a lot of experience when it comes to this. So a little bit about ASDC. ASDC is a membership organization. We support families, professionals, anyone who's looking to learn or use American Sign Language. We also are very much aware that language deprivation is a huge issue when it comes to our children. And because of that, we have actually started to develop all of our programming around stopping language deprivation and preventing that by giving families, giving professionals, anyone that wants to learn, immediate access to American Sign Language. So how do we do that? First, we have our website. Our website is deafchildren.org, or if you just search deaf children, hard of hearing children, deaf blind children, we pop up and you'll be able to find us without a problem. Our website is full of resources, information. We have social stories that are in ASL on our mental health pages under resources. We have classes, events. We have different programs such as Sign On and Friends Like Me, which I'll talk about. We have a news or a blog that's posted several times a week. We have a page about IEPs that's currently under construction, but it is getting ready to have some more things added very soon. We have our stories directory. We have a directory of hundreds of stories that are all told in ASL. Some have resources to go with those stories with activities that you can do. We have state and national resources. So our website itself is full of information. We also have all the social medias, just like everybody else. We're on Facebook. We have a special private group for our ASDC members called ASDC Core Connections. Core Connections is a private group, and it is a specific group for families or professionals to be able to join. You do need to be a member of ASDC to join it. And people are able to come on and ask questions. There's a lot of groups out there for families with deaf and hard of hearing children. And a lot of times families will post questions, and unfortunately, they get a lot of answers. They get a lot of responses that are not always appropriate, and sometimes are very judging to the families. And we created our own Facebook group so that families have a safe place to be able to ask their questions and get truthful, honest answers to those questions without being judged. Because we know families, especially hearing families, have many, many questions. We're also on Instagram and on TikTok. You can find us everywhere. Like I said, we are a membership organization. You don't need to be a member to access any of our information. Once in a while, we do a members only event. You do need to be a member for that, and you need to be a member for the private Facebook group. But anyone can access our website. Anyone can attend any of our classes, our events, our conferences. It's open to everyone. One of the biggest perks to our membership is that you receive a discount on everything that we do. You also receive a free monthly ASL class. It's usually held on a Monday night from 8 to 9:30 with a different topic each month. There's also several member-only events that we offer, and then we have some events that we know are going to sell out, and we offer a limited, if it's going to be a limited registration or we know it's going to sell out, we offer early access to our members for those events. We also many times offer member-only special discounts. So we have our annual family conference, and in looks like January, we're going to have a special member-only discount rate to attend that conference. So one of the biggest programs that we have that we are so proud of is our Sign On program. And this is our version of a deaf mentor program. We have deaf ambassadors. It's all done online. It's free for our ASDC members. You receive 5 30-minute sessions that are free, and it's customized practice with a deaf adult, and it's one-on-one. Those sessions are recorded. Parents, professionals, whoever's using this can schedule their sessions based on your own schedule. So we have workshops that are scheduled in the evening. We have some that are scheduled on weekends, during the day. It works for your schedule. We also have students that have sign-on written into their IEPs. So especially students that are in more of a rural area where maybe they don't have access to those deaf adults or deaf peers. And they're able to access that deaf adult, whether it's for learning a specific subject, whether it's tutoring, whether it's just having some basic conversation with helping with their ASL skills. But it can be easily written into a child's IEP also. We also offer our Friends Like Me program. Our Friends Like Me program is a modern day pen pal, and it's done again virtually online. We provide a deaf ambassador with a group of 4 students. The 4 students are normally grouped by possibly age, possibly ability. Sometimes they're grouped by if it's for children with cochlear implants who use spoken language, or for students who use strictly ASL with no access to sound. It depends. So our groups are all put together based on the needs of a child. We have a group of students that get together and do groups every week, or crafts every week. We have a group that gets together that talks about a specific video game that they all play. And while they're in their session, they talk about this video game, and then they all play throughout the week. So it's a way that students can make friends with other children who are deaf and hard of hearing or deafblind, and be able to know that they're not the only child in the area. We also have, I believe it's 2 ambassadors who are deafblind. So we provide for anyone that's looking for this. And again, if you're a member of ASDC, you get 5 free sessions with this. And these groups meet once a week for, I believe it's 45 minutes. We also provide ASL weekends all over the country. We will be doing one in the Maryland, DC area in 2024. We don't have that on the calendar yet, but it will be up very soon. The weekends are a Saturday and Sunday. We have ASL instructors. All of our ASL instructors are deaf. And it's 2 pretty full, intense days of learning American Sign Language. It is a fun weekend. There's a lot of laughing. There's a lot of hands-on activities. It's not just sitting in a room learning signs. You are doing activities. You're up and moving around. You're really learning how to use the language. It's a great event, and I highly recommend them. One of the things that we have been offering a lot is our ASL classes online. And we offer not only ASL classes, but we have webinars, we have special topic classes. Our ASL classes are 4-part classes that are provided throughout the different months. So January, we're offering ASL beginner level 1, ASL intermediate level 1. We have I don't think we have a children's class in January, but in February, we will have a children's class that's going to be offered. So we offer all different topics. Our classes are 90 minutes. They're from 8 to 9:30 in the evening. The children's class is from 7 to 8 in the evening. That one is only an hour. We also have a class that we started for 2024 that is a young children's class for families with children. We're saying 3 to 5. That's a 30-minute class. It meets the first Saturday of every month. It's a 12-month series. And that session, again, it's presented by a deaf adult. All of our classes have interpreters except for our advanced classes. Our advanced classes, if you're in those classes, they do not provide an interpreter. If you're in those classes, you should be able to move forward without the interpreter in that class. So we have classes that are offered each and every month. We are able to work with school systems or schools that if you have families that are interested, we are happy to work something out for your families to be able to attend those classes. The classes are normally $100 per class. If you're a member, it's a $25 discount. Part of our membership is the Monday night free ASL class. It's offered once a month on various topics. If you're not a member, those classes are $25 to attend. We also have webinars that we offer on all different topics throughout the year. We have them on medical science. We have child safety. We have a post-secondary transition workshop that's coming up. So we have all different topics. One of our newest resources that we offer is our Latino Parent Support Group. And this is a monthly support group. This is free. And it's a monthly support group that is guided by our Spanish outreach coordinator. She does do everything in Spanish. The support groups are 100% in Spanish. There are no interpreters in this group unless we have a deaf presenter that's coming in. Then we do provide a Spanish interpreter from ASL to Spanish, but we do not provide an ASL or an interpreter from Spanish to English. The support groups are specifically for our Spanish-speaking families. They meet once a month for anywhere between an hour and 90, but anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the families who's attending. Sometimes the conversations do seem to go on for a little bit longer than that. We offer also ASL classes in Spanish. Our next series is going to be in February and March. They are also 4-part classes. These classes are only $25 for the 4-part series for our Spanish-speaking families. Again, if your school system has families that are interested in these classes, please feel free to send me an email and we can work something out for your families to be able to attend those classes. We want families to be able to get this information and to get it in their native language. We also offer a family conference. Our family conference in 2024 is going to be held in Nebraska City, Nebraska. Our conference looks a little different than most conferences you attend. This is a family conference. The parents come with their children, and many times they come with extended family members also. We not only have presentations that are specifically for the adults while the children are in a children's program, but a lot of the time we spend together as a family unit where the parents and the children are all together. And we do this on purpose. So our workshops, our topic for 2024 is social emotional learning. And our workshops will be strategies to use for families and how they can promote social emotional learning at home when they're in the community. What can happen? They're going to be given specific strategies. When we get together to do activities, they use these strategies. We will have behavior specialists there. We will be talking a lot about some behaviors and how to manage behaviors. We will have 3 different tracks. One track is going to be birth to 4. One track is elementary, and the last track will be middle and high school. The middle and high school track will be focusing on transition, that post-secondary transition, and what they need to do. We will be talking about visions. We will be talking about getting a job, keeping a job, those, again, those social emotional skills when it comes to transition. Each track will be specific to their age groups and along with the activities that are going to be done. The other conference that we just started this year was our literacy conference. We offered it for the first time in 2023 in October. We are doing it again in 2024. It's going to be held in October again, and it's going to be in Charleston, South Carolina again. This year, we had 5 keynote presenters, 24 breakout sessions. The schedule will be very, very similar. I don't know that we'll have 5 breakout sessions or keynotes. We may only have 4 this year, but we will probably have 24 breakout sessions again. And we had a specific deafblind track, and we are planning to do that again. Last year, we pretty much sold out the conference. This year, we think it's going to be even larger. So we've opened up more spaces for that conference this year. And then lastly, we have our Endeavor magazine. We used to put the Endeavor out years ago, and we stopped it, and we've brought it back. It is an online magazine. Our first edition was our fall and winter edition, and it went with our literacy conference. So if you look at the magazine, you will see the presentations in there from our literacy conference and their white papers from the literacy conference. All of our presentations for that conference were research-based, and all of the presenters needed to write a paper to be published for that conference. So they've all been published in the Endeavor magazine. So you'll find that there. And that's very quickly in my 15 minutes, who we are with the American Society for Deaf Children. Are there any questions or comments? And seeing none, I'll turn it back over to Donna. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sherry. I think this is an absolute excellent resource for everyone to just even be aware of. I wasn't sure if people were aware of ASDC and how to use that resource, but they help with families and classroom staff. And I think having access to not only American Sign Language classes, but also the resource for Spanish families, I think that's huge for some of you, and I hope that you take advantage of that resource. It's been an excellent partnership, and they do great work, and we love being a part of that. And we're honored to be a part of that as well. Okay, so I have just a few more minutes of just kind of updating all of you. If you don't have any questions for Sherry, then I'm happy to stop and take questions. Feel free to also reach out to Sherry on your own if you have any questions about upcoming conferences. You can see also from our weekly email newsletter that we advertise classes, American Sign Language classes. So what typically happens is if there is a student in your school, sorry about the throat, if there's a student or a family and they're part of your local school system and they're in a school or program for individuals and learners who are deaf and hard of hearing, and it would be great if the family would learn some sign, and the child may also be a student with vision and hearing challenges. If the family needs financial support to participate in a class, we can also help with that, especially if they're a student that's on our census. We will help facilitate them attending and being a part of ASDC. We may have a question. The school membership, Sherry, I think you said a school membership might be $300. Did you want to elaborate on that?
Sure. So we do offer school memberships. Our school memberships are $300, and that's for a year. It's from the time that it starts. And people say, oh, is it just for the calendar year or the school year? No, it's a year from whenever school starts. One of the things, there's several benefits to a school membership. Number one, we advertise your school. If there's anything happening at your school, we're going to put it on our social media. And we have quite a large social media reach and our newsletter reach. So we're going to put it on there. Your school's going to be listed on our website as a member. We're also going to give you a discount on any ads in our Endeavor magazine or any vendor opportunities for any of our conferences or anything like that. So you're going to have that. All of your members, all of your families at the school and staff that are interested in a personal membership, they all receive a $10 discount. So our regular membership, individual membership, is normally $35, but they can get it for $25. Those are the big perks really for a school membership. But we do have more things coming this year that we're excited about. And if you want more information, just let me know.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, let's finish up. And then the state steering committees could go ahead and meet after. I just have a few more minutes. So if the chairs want to, in the chat, put in instructions to your other members around time, what time to get on your link, if you want a break before you get on, because I know we're finishing a little bit early. So feel free to post instructions in the chat box for your committee if you feel like that's needed. Okay, so just want to let you all know, I did mention that last December was the end of our 5-year grant. So we did write for another 5 years and we were awarded. So we are around for another 5 years. So thank you to my team for all of their support and work on that. We were given, I think the word came in August or September that we were funded for another 5 years through the Office of Special Education Programs. So we're going to continue with all of our efforts, including our monthly webinars. We have a 3-part series coming up in January. You should have seen it advertised already. It's from Mr. Chris Montgomery, and he's going to talk all about deafblindness and communication and calendar systems. So it has been advertised. Feel free to register. There's no charge for that training. We also have upcoming trainings around transition, so be on the lookout for that. That one's not advertised yet. We will start also thinking about Summer Institute. If there's a topic or a presenter that you think we should know about, please email us. We're always looking for new presenters and new topics that we can share with you all. So feel free to email us. We are continuing our family engagement efforts, our